The credit card statement sat before me, and for a split second, I thought my vision was betraying me. $18,920. Venue bookings, bespoke floral arrangements, catering for 150 guests, all charged to the emergency card I'd handed my son 3 years back for true emergencies. My finger traced the crisp rows of charges, each entry slicing deeper than the last. Maple Grove Pavilion, $7,200. Lotus Bloom Creations, $3,150. Starlight Catering, $6,480. I couldn't fathom what I was seeing. A flush crept up my neck, my hands quivering as the reality sank in. My son had betrayed me. His wedding, the biggest day of his life, and I was excluded. No, he'd ensured I was kept in the dark. They hadn't just overlooked me, they'd wiped me from their narrative entirely. As I sat there, the figures smudging on the page, I realized this wasn't just about the money. Something darker, sharper was forming, and they'd answer for their actions. The kitchen was stiflingly still, the kind of silence where the wall clock's tick feels like a hammer on your nerves. My tea sat cold, untouched since dawn. Outside, the early winter light was pale, drained, as if the world itself lacked vitality. I shoved the statement aside, but those stark numbers paraded in my mind like ants on a march. Their goal was clear: drain my savings without a single call. This wasn't a mix-up. Kai knew precisely what he was doing, and his girlfriend Lila, she had to have known too. You don't reserve a venue and catering for 150 people without her noticing. I rose, more to steady my shaking than with a destination in mind. My hands gripped the back of the worn cedar chair, the one May used to sit in while scanning her tablet. She'd have known what to say. May could cut through deceit like a blade through silk. "Don't let them see you waver, Wei," she'd say. "Not until you know how you'll play your hand." The phone sat on the counter, its dark screen practically daring me to act. I could call Kai now, demand answers, demand my money back. But that's what they'd expect: a father's righteous fury. Number. In my 57 years, I've learned the loudest voice in the room is often the frailest. I sat again, spread the statement out, and went over it with a pen, circling dates and amounts. The bookings began 3 months ago, proof they'd planned this for a while, long enough to ensure my name was off the guest list. Halfway through, my phone vibrated. Lila. I let it ring 3 times before picking up. "Hey, Dad?" Her voice carried that breezy, just-dropping by tone she used when she wanted a favor. "You free this weekend? Thought we could do dinner, all of us." "All of us?" I kept my tone flat. "Yeah, me, Kai, a few friends. Kind of a pre-wedding thing." "Pre-wedding," I echoed, letting the word linger. "Sounds costly." A pause. Yeah, weddings are pricey, "I do now." Silence, just the faint hum of the line. "Dad, what's up?" she asked finally. "What's up is I've been reviewing my credit card bill," I said, voice steady. "Unless there's another Chen family throwing a huge event at Maple Grove, we've got an issue. Look, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think." Another pause. Longer. Then a sigh. "Kai was going to tell you. We wanted it to be a surprise." "A surprise," I repeated. "Well, you've pulled it off. I'm surprised I'm out $18,920 and not even invited." "Dad." I hung up before she could finish, not because I couldn't hear more, but because I wanted her to feel the cold snap of a deadline. I spent the rest of the day pacing between the kitchen and the small study where May's novels still lined the shelves. My fingers kept brushing the pocket watch in my pocket, the one my father gave me. Its hands were stuck at 3:42, broken, but I kept it because it reminded me time doesn't just slip by. Sometimes it halts, waiting for you to act. By evening, I had a plan. Not the full picture, just the first move. I grabbed a notepad and listed not what I'd lost, but what they thought they'd secured. Venue, flowers, catering, photographer, all funded by me. If I acted fast, I could unravel their perfect vision. The next morning, I drove to Maple Grove Pavilion, one of those places you see in slick ads. Gleaming columns, pristine gardens, a bride's fantasy. I sat in my car, watching a young couple snap engagement photos by a willow tree, their laughter sharp. For a moment, I saw Kai at that age, grinning the same way before choices and secrets pulled him from the boy who'd race across our lawn barefoot. Inside, the receptionist, tight ponytail, jade stud earrings, greeted me with a smile. "Good morning, sir. How can I assist you?" "I need to speak with whoever handles bookings," I said, "about an event next month, under Chen." Her fingers tapped the keyboard, her smile tightening. "I see the booking, but we can only discuss details with the account holder." "I paid the deposit," I said. Her eyes flicked to the screen, then back. "It's listed under Kai Chen." "My son." My voice stayed even. "He used my card without permission." That caught her. "Do you have proof?" I slid the statement across. She scanned it, lips thinning. "I see. In cases like this, we can cancel if the cardholder disputes the charge." "I'm disputing it." She nodded. "You'll need to fill out this form. Once processed, the booking will be void and the deposit refunded." I took the form, thanked her, and stepped into the crisp morning air. Step 1, I thought. That night, Kai called. No greeting, just, "Why'd you cancel my venue?" "I didn't cancel it," I said. "I disputed an unauthorized charge." "You're unbelievable. Do you know what you've done?" "Yes," I said. "I've saved myself $7,200 and maybe some self-respect." "You're ruining my wedding." "No, Kai. You did that when you decided I didn't belong in it." The silence on his end was different. Not confusion, not surprise, but raw anger. "This isn't over," he said, and hung up. He was right. It wasn't over. But he had no clue which way this would go. The house felt hollow after Kai's call. Not calm, but heavy. Like the air was bracing itself. I barely slept. His words looping in my head. Not the boy who'd chase kites in our yard, but the man who'd just accused me of sabotage, as if I were the villain. By morning, my tea tasted sharp. Bitter. One thing was clear. If I stopped now, I'd lose more than money. I'd lose the last shred of respect between us, and maybe myself too. Canceling the venue was the easy part. Kai would find another venue. Lila would back him up. The real blow to their scheme, the real signal, would only land if I dismantled every piece of their plan before they could regroup. I started with the florist. Lotus Bloom Creations sat at the corner of Pine and 3rd, a quaint shop where the scent of flowers hit you before the doors chime. Stepping inside, I scanned rows of sleek vases and lilies so flawless they seemed almost artificial. A young woman in a smock greeted me. "Morning." Looking for something specific? Yes, I said, keeping my tone even, courteous. So I need to talk to whoever manages large event orders. She guided me to a back counter where a man in his 50s, shirt sleeves rolled up, was arranging peonies into an intricate display. You must be Chen, he said without looking up. That froze me. You know my name? He glanced up, eyes sharp. Your son's been in here a lot. He mentions you. Then you know he used my card without my okay. His hands paused. I'm here to cancel the order, I said. He hesitated. Look, I understand, but we've already ordered specialty blooms, imported. I can't refund it all. A snag. What can you refund? Half, he said. The rest? I can hold the flowers for another event if you want. I leaned closer. What I want is those flowers nowhere near that wedding. Can you make that happen? His jaw stiffened. If that's your call, yes. We shook on it, but I felt his gaze linger as I left. Not every vendor would be as pliable as the venue staff, and that was fine. I wasn't after easy. The catering would be the real fight. Starlight Catering was run by an old college buddy of Lila's, meaning they'd anticipate my pushback. I called first, using the same steady tone I'd used before. The woman who answered left me on hold so long I nearly hung up. Then a man's voice came on, clipped and cold. Mr. Chen, we've received full payment authorization from your son. Cancellation's off the table. He's not authorized to use my account, I said. That's between you and your son, he replied. Our contract's locked in. I heard pots clanging in the background, the buzz of a busy kitchen. Let me be clear, I said. If you cater that event, you're serving food I paid for without my consent. I'll make that very public. A pause. Are you threatening me, Mr. Chen? I'm stating facts, I said. Your other clients might care how you handle unauthorized payments. Silence, then a huff. Fine. We'll issue a partial refund, but for the full amount, you'll need to go legal. Send the paperwork, I said, and hung up. For the first time, a flicker of triumph sparked. This wasn't about the money anymore. It was about showing Kai and Lila that actions have weight, that I wasn't the pushover they assumed. That afternoon, Lila appeared at my door. No call, just the crunch of her car in the driveway and a sharp knock. I opened the door, leaning against the frame. Here to talk or to shout? Her jaw was set. What are you doing, Dad? I could ask you the same. You've canceled the venue, the flowers, now the catering. Do you know the mess you're making? Plenty, I said. That's the idea. This is Kai's day. No, Lila. This is the day Kai tried to erase me, and you went along with it. She looked away, hand rubbing her neck. We didn't think you'd want to be there. I gave a sharp, mirthless laugh. You didn't think at all. Dad, I'm not your enemy. You've both treated me like one. Now you get to feel what that's like. She opened her mouth, then shut it. Without another word, she turned and left. I watched her car's taillights fade down the street, just as I'd watched Kai's trust slip away. That night, I made 2 calls. One to my bank to launch a fraud investigation on every charge Kai had made in the last 4 months. The second to my lawyer, Jian, not for pity, but for tactics. Wei, Jian said, if you want this to hold, you need to act before they replace what you've undone. Otherwise, they'll just swap vendors. I know, I said. That's why I need every contract, every receipt, and I need them now. Understood. But brace yourself. They won't roll over. Good, I thought. Neither would I. By Thursday morning, I knew they'd counter. You don't dismantle someone's wedding piece by piece without them noticing. It came as an email, not from Kai, but his lawyer. Brief, icy, almost smug. Mr. Chen, your son disputes your claim regarding the credit card charges. He maintains you gave him permission and your blessing. Further interference with his wedding plans will result in immediate legal action. T. Lin, attorney at law. I reread it until the words blurred. Your blessing. That stung deepest. Kai knew what he was doing, sowing doubt on paper to spin the story in court. I called Jian immediately. They've lawyered up, I said. He gave a half laugh, half sigh, then stopped playing soft. That afternoon, I went to the bank in person. The manager Li met me in her office, her face less warm than before. Mr. Chen, I can freeze the disputed charges temporarily, but if your son's listed as an authorized user, it's murky. He's not authorized for this, I said, tapping the statement. I believe you, she said. But if he claims you gave verbal consent, we'll need proof to override it. A barrier, not insurmountable, but steep enough to make me reassess. That evening, Lila called, her voice taut. Dad, you've gone too far. Kai's a wreck. His mom's family is calling him a victim. Then maybe he should stop acting like one. Don't you care how this looks for us? I let the silence stretch. No, Lila, I said finally. I care how it felt when you both decided I didn't belong at this family's biggest moment. You're blowing this up. $18,920 says I'm not. She hung up. Friday, they struck harder. A call from Maple Grove Pavilion. A different manager. Voice smooth. Practiced. Mr. Chen. Per our updated agreement with Mr. Kai Chen, the original booking stands. He's paid the balance with a new account. I could almost hear Kai's defiance in those words. You can't stop me. I didn't argue. Instead, I asked, has the fire marshal cleared your current capacity? Last I checked, Maple Grove had an open safety review. A beat of silence. I'll need to check on that. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with a notepad. This wasn't about stopping the wedding anymore. Kai had already pivoted. It was about sending a message that would linger long after the vows, in a language Kai and Lila couldn't spin into a sob story. I didn't need to block them. I needed them to face me and see what they'd done. By Saturday morning, the anger had sharpened into calculation. I wasn't pacing anymore. I sat still, sipping tea long gone cold, mapping my next move. Every time I thought about the $18,920, about the Maple Grove booking, about the way Kai's lawyer painted me as a spiteful old man, my determination hardened like steel. The phone vibrated. It was Jian. You still set on this? He asked, straight to the point. If I wasn't, I wouldn't have called you last night, I said. You know, once we start pulling, this doesn't just stitch back up. This'll ripple. I let the silence linger, then said softly, good. Let them choke on it. Step 1 was quiet. I drove to the county clerk's office, where the air smelled of musty paper and wax. Morning, Mr. Chen, the clerk, Mira, said, peering over her monitor. What's up? I need to see the occupancy records and permits for Maple Grove Pavilion. Public access. Her brow arched slightly. She knew the Chen name, probably heard the town gossip, but she stayed silent. She handed me a thick folder. I sifted through until I found it. A temporary permit from last year, expiring in 10 days, just before Kai's wedding. No renewal in sight. That afternoon, I visited the fire marshal's office. It smelled of stale coffee and wet jackets. "Way," the Marshal Tom said, recognizing me. "Haven't seen you since the warehouse fire in 12. "Yeah, I'm here about Maple Grove." "Off the record?" He leaned back, arms crossed. "They haven't submitted the updated floor plan, have they?" He shook his head. "She'd been after them for months." "What happens if they host an event without it?" "Shut down on the spot. Doesn't matter if it's a wedding or a gala." I nodded. Good to know. By Sunday, the plan was sharp in my mind. Not the loud, door-slamming revenge Kai might expect, but control, reclaimed without begging. In my study, I opened the bottom drawer and pulled out an old notebook. Not the one Kai knew. This held names of people who owed me, debts no contract could capture. One stood out, Leo Tan, co-owner of Starlight Catering. In 2001, I'd bailed him out when a supplier lawsuit nearly crushed his business. I called him. "Wei, it's been ages," he said warmly. "Leo, I hear you're catering the Chen wedding." A pause. "Yeah, great menu your son chose. Caviar, filet mignon, pricey stuff. I need you to cancel." A longer pause. "Wei, I can't just... Remember 2001? My voice stayed low, steady. Silence. "I'll make some calls." That evening, Kai called, his voice cold as frost. "Did you talk to my caterer?" "Yes." "You're pathetic. Think this'll fix anything?" "Not fixing," I said. "Just making sure the bill doesn't land on me again." "You can't stop this wedding," he snapped. "Don't need to," I said. "I just need you to remember the man you cut out still knows where the levers are." The line went dead. By Monday morning, Starlight Catering had pulled out. Kai scrambled for a replacement. But with less than 2 weeks, top-tier caterers don't just materialize. I sat on the porch that evening, watching the sky bruise over the oak trees, the air heavy with coming rain. The quiet held a grim satisfaction, not gloating, just knowing the game had tilted. And I hadn't even touched the real piece yet. That was still coming. By Thursday morning, the sky over Pinewood was dull as ash, the air thick with the promise of a storm. I stood at the window, coffee in hand, watching the street. Same old neighborhood, Mrs. Lynn raking her yard, the delivery van rumbling by. But for me, everything had shifted. Starlight was out, and Kai's last call told me he was fraying. Good. Stress makes people careless. Exactly what I needed. The phone rang. Unknown number. "Chen, this is Greg from Maple Grove Pavilion," a man's voice said. "Calling about some concerns." He rambled about permits, fire marshal inspections, and missing renewal forms. His voice carried a nervous edge. "Greg," I cut in, "my son booked your venue for his wedding. I won't be there, but I'd hate for him to be humiliated. Send me the renewal paperwork. I'll get it to the right desk." He paused. "That'd help a lot." Of course it would. It just wasn't going anywhere near that desk. That afternoon, I visited the bank. Lee, the manager, greeted me with a guarded smile, the kind reserved for familiar but tricky clients. I need to adjust my account authorizations, I said, sliding my ID over. What kind? She asked. Revoke secondary access on my credit line. Effective now. No pending transactions unless I'm here in person. Her eyes flicked up. That'll freeze any linked cards, including your son's. I know what it'll do. By Friday evening, Kai got the message. He called, voice like a taut wire. You froze the account. Are you insane? Deposits are due. Deposits, I said, are promises. Promises break both ways. You're trying to shame me. I almost laughed. No, Kai, I'm teaching you consequences. Shame's your choice. Saturday morning, I drove to see Min, an old friend with ties to the city's health inspector. We sat in his shed, the air thick with motor oil and cedar, rain drumming on the roof. I'm not asking for anything shady, I said. Just make sure Maple Grove gets a thorough inspection, the kind they've dodged for a while. Min grinned. You're quiet, Wei, but when you move, it's like a blade. By Sunday, the first real fracture showed. An email from an unfamiliar address, one of Kai's groomsmen. Mr. Chen, I thought you should know. Kai's blaming you for the catering collapse. Says you're bitter, trying to wreck his joy. But I saw the receipts. I know what he did. I stared at the screen, not because it stung, it didn't anymore, but because it confirmed what I'd sensed. Kai wasn't just angry. He was scared. That night, I paced the house, room by room. The silence was heavy, the kind that echoes with memories of voices long gone. May's soft hum. Kai and Lila racing through the hall. Back then, I thought my role was to give them a foundation. I never dreamed they'd use it to shove me aside. But standing there, staring at the rain-streaked street, it hit me. I wasn't losing a family. They were losing me. And before their wedding day ended, they'd grasp exactly what that meant. The wedding week began with a deceptive light, soft until it burned. Monday, 6 days left. The house stirred before I did. Pipes creaking, fridge humming, the hall clock ticking like it held me to a vow. An envelope lay by the front door, plain, no stamp, no return address. My name was scrawled in a hurried half-cursive. Inside, one line. Wei, stop this. You're hurting more than just Kai. Lila. I held the note, the kettle hissing on the stove. Guilt is a coin people toss when their own hands are empty. I set the paper by my tea, let the kettle complain a moment longer, then cut the flame. Poured. Sipped. I didn't feel like a monster. I felt like a man who'd finally recalled his own worth. By 9 a.m., I made 3 calls. 1 I dreaded, 2 I didn't. Lee at the bank took the first. Mr. Chen, she said after double-checking my identity, her keyboard clicking with the steady patience of someone whose day had already outrun her tea. You want to revoke secondary access on the credit line and require in-person approval for charges over $300? Yes, I said. Not today. That'll freeze any linked cards, including your son's. I know what it'll do, I said, softer than she deserved. You'll get complaints soon. I'm sorry. Route them to me or my lawyer. She paused, her voice dipping from protocol to personal. I'll note it, Mr. Chen, But for pending transactions, you'll need documentation. You'll have more than you can handle, I said, and hung up. Next, Gian. He picked up on the first ring. Still in, he asked, skipping pleasantries. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be calling. Lee's locked the funds. Now we shut the gates. Draft the vendor letters, I said. Factual, no accusations. Attach the dispute case numbers and my notarized statement. I'm the sole cardholder. No authorization for wedding charges. I'll sign. You'll sign. Send them certified. One more thing? Gian asked. On the wedding morning, I want a courier to deliver a letter to Kai. Not to shame him, to speak in a way he can't ignore. A beat. Write it. I'll make sure it lands. Last, Min. Not to break rules, but to enforce them. The fire marshal, I said. Maple Grove's renewal is missing. Min chuckled. Your timing's sharp. I'm not asking for favors, I said. Just the inspection they've dodged. You'll get it, he said. This week, tell your son not to hang decorations over exit signs. He left me out of the decor budget, I said. Then we'll invite the code book, Min replied, and the line went quiet. The afternoon turned heavy, clouds piling like unclaimed baggage. I drove to Maple Grove Pavilion. The willow by the entrance swayed, its branches a canopy you could rely on. The building gleamed, white columns, polished confidence, glass catching every stray beam. Greg met me in the lobby, his collared shirt open, tie gone. Mr. Chen, he said, his smile too quick. About that renewal packet. Not why I'm here, I said. I'm here to talk choices. He blinked. We're a venue. A venue that took a deposit on a card you knew wasn't his, I said, voice steady, not rising. I'm not here to sue. I'm offering an out. He rubbed his forehead, a gesture worn by repetition. We got an alternate payment. The event's funded. You're on a temporary permit expiring in 10 days, I said. The wedding's in 6. His eyes darted to the hallway like a cat eyeing an exit. We've submitted revised floor plans. For approval or for luck, I asked. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Here's the out, I said. Refund the deposit now. Cite compliance issues. Suggest a smaller outdoor ceremony. Your reputation holds. My money stays mine. My son learns a word he's forgotten. What word? Greg asked, exasperation creeping in. Limits, I said. He gave a short, reluctant laugh. You're not the first dad to teach that here. Then maybe you need a sign, I said. He glanced at his calendar, his phone, the floor. Give me till tomorrow, he said. We'll decide. Decide right, I said, leaving him with the lobby's faint citrus scent and the hum of a building proud of itself. At home, the house carried a Monday afternoon stillness that felt like Sunday. The kind that makes you touch the walls for grounding. I did, passing May's favorite window, the one framing the neat oak across the street and the neighbor's gaudy garden statues. For a moment, missing her cut deep, then faded. Grief, like documents, is easier in small doses. Tuesday came without asking. By 10 a.m., my phone showed 10 missed calls from Kai and 5 from unknown numbers. I ignored them long enough to shave and pull on the shirt May called my "Don't Mess With Me" green. Then I sat at the kitchen table, opened the file box with vendor tabs Mayra had organized, and started printing Gion's letters. The printer hummed, steady and true. The Cedar Hill dispute numbers were clipped to the file. An occupancy renewal note was tucked in, unaddressed. Lotus Bloom's purchase order cited Clause 3C, allowing cancellation by the cardholder if charges were contested. Starlight Catering's authorization log flagged a card-not-present transaction from an unregistered device. I signed each letter with a pen that felt like a chisel, not a gesture. The stack was a blueprint turning into history. At noon, Kai appeared. No knock, just the doorbell's sharp jab, learning the new locks lesson. I opened the door. "You froze the account," he said, voice tight as a wire. "I protected my money," I said. There's a difference." "You're wrecking my wedding," he said, stepping into the kitchen like it was a stage for his argument. "I'm fixing my bank statement," I said, hand resting on the letters, and the idea that I'm invisible. "You and your papers," he scoffed, as if it were a flaw. "Paper keeps what people forget," I said. "Tea?" He ignored me, snatching the top letter, scanning it without reading. "You can't do this." "Already did," I said, "and I'll keep doing it until my name and money go only where I say." He tossed the letter back, scattering the stack. I left the mess. Some lessons show better than they tell. "This is small," he said. "Petty." "This is a father invited out of his son's life. Then build for the door," I said. "You're a professor, Kai. You know what happens when a student submits whatever, whenever, however. They start thinking rules are insults." His jaw tightened, defiance trumping reason. "Mom would hate this." "Your mother would hate what you're doing," I said, steady, watching the words hit their mark. He stared, eyes sharp enough to wound if I let them. Then he turned, hand on the knob. "I'll have my wedding," he said. "With or without you." "You chose without," I said. "Now you learn the price." The door clicked shut, soft but final. By mid-afternoon, Lotus Bloom was the fight I'd braced for. The owner, Hana, had a voice honed to say yes to grooms and no to limits. "Mr. Chen," she said as I set the clause and dispute number on her counter. "I get your stance, but imported blooms are in my cooler, wilting if I cut them from your son's date." "I'll split the loss," I said. "Half refund, receipt now. Resell what you can. Bill me only what the market rejects." She blinked. "You're paying for flowers you don't want?" "I'm paying to keep them off a day I'm barred from," I said. Her expression shifted. Respect, maybe, not for me, but for a line drawn clear and unapologetic. "I can do half," she said. "But stop calling my team." "I've never called your team," I said. "I deal with owners, in writing." She printed the refund form. The register spat out the transaction like a reluctant admission. When she handed me the slip, our hands didn't touch. "Tell your son to pick hardier blooms next time," she said, not cruelly. "Lilies don't eat fathers," I said, and left to the chime's crisp farewell. Starlight Catering tried to play smart and gracious. Leo Tan, the co-owner I'd saved in 2001, met me at the back door, thick with the scent of garlic and heat. "Way," he said, wiping his hands on a rag long past its prime. "My crew would rather grill for you in a backyard than cater that boy's wedding." "He's my son," I said. "Say my son." "Your son. Sorry. Look, I can refund 65%, clean. The rest, I'll convert to credit. Pick a date, I'll feed your temple group or whatever you old-timers do when you're not rewriting scripture." "Start with ethics," I said. Make it 75-25. I'll donate the credit to the community kitchen. He stared, then grinned despite himself. You always made a man feel he chose to lose. I make a path, I said. You walk it. He wrote the check, circled a date. Ja, bring me that charity lunch, he said. We'll give Pinewood heartburn. By the time I stepped back onto my porch, the day had a shape I knew. Steps taken, records set, a frame to stand under if lawsuits reigned. I laid the florist receipt and catering check on the table, opened my notebook, and wrote, Monday, 2:10 p.m. Lotus Bloom, 50% refund, remainder for resale, owner approved. Monday, 3:05 p.m. Starlight, 75% refund, 25% credit to community kitchen, check secured. No need to underline. The words stood firm. The evening settled quietly. A neighbor's sprinkler hissed a block away. A cat yowled its case against a bird. The faint scent of someone's stir-fry drifted, both memory and invitation. I cooked rice, ate at the counter, let the house speak in the soft tones May once loved. Then the phone buzzed. Mr. Chen, a measured voice said, this is Elise from the City Inspections Office. We're scheduling follow-ups for venues with expired permits. Maple Grove? I asked. Yes, sir, she said. We've contacted their management. We'll be there Thursday afternoon. Thank you, I said. I'm sorry if this stirs family tension, she added, her tone hinting she knew more than she needed. Sometimes tension keeps a roof from caving, I said. Good night, Elise. I slept like a man who'd shelved his burdens right. Tuesday's sun rose bolder than I cared to match. I dressed in clothes that had seen more clerks' desks than temple halls, and drove the envelope of vendor letters and dispute documents to Jian's office for scanning and notarization. He stamped with the precision of a man whose ink knows its purpose. Courier's set for Saturday, he said, sticking a note to my letter for Kai. 9:25 a.m., handed off outside the dressing room. No fuss, just delivery. I glanced at the letter once more. Short, it began with the 3 words I'd asked Kai for and never got. I am sorry. I was wrong. Here's how I'll fix it. The letter detailed the adult version. Dates, vendors, amounts, actions. I cited the clauses that made each step legal. It ended with a line I rewrote 5 times, settling on plain truth over flair. You showed me what erasure feels like. I'm showing you what boundaries sound like. Jian slipped it into a thick envelope. Sure about this? He asked, eyeing the delivery plan. Yes, I said. The outcome? Number. That's the point. He nodded, not approving the plan, but my refusal to pretend I controlled its ripples. At home, 4 voicemails waited. 3 from anxious unknown numbers, 1 from Kai. Dad, he said, voice raw with exhaustion and anger. I found a new caterer, smaller florist. Maple Grove is set. Stop trying to ruin me. I don't need your lessons. I didn't call back. I saved the message to an email folder labeled Family Evidence. Not to hoard pain, but because memory softens edges my bank account needs sharp. In the afternoon, I stood at the front window, watching a delivery van glide past. It didn't stop. The pang felt familiar, like the months after May's death, waiting for something not mine to claim. I set it aside with the junk mail and did 10 minutes of practical work, tightened a loose cabinet knob, oiled a creaky door, reset the porch light timer that fusses about dusk. Later, Lila called. Jin's game ends at 6, she said, her voice frayed in a new way. Want to come? He plays better when you're there. You want me there? I asked. He does, she corrected. But yeah. I'll stand by the left field line, I said. No coaching. Good, she said, almost smiling through the line. You cheer weird. At the field, the grass smelled of earth and second chances. Jin swung with heart, not quite sure how to channel it. Lila kept her hands in her coat, her words sparse. We stood close, not obviously intentional. Kai's not stopping, she said after a few pitches. He thinks you're loving this. I love owning what's mine, I said. Nothing else. You sent a letter to his caterer, she said. 8 letters, I corrected. He'll get one more Saturday. She stared at the fence like it could hold emotions in their place. Do you have to be so precise? I tried vague, I said. Kleiter, it taught the wrong thing. She nodded, understanding something she didn't want to, and watched Jin pop out to shortstop with a pride that didn't care about the score. Wednesday brought a sky that knew its place. An email from the city landed at 9 a.m. Maple Grove inspection confirmed for Thursday, 5 p.m. I forwarded it to Jian, filed it under Maple Grove compliance, and wore the shirt that makes strangers think I know more than I do. Lotus Bloom's refund hit my account by noon. Starlight's check cleared by 2. I stopped by the community kitchen with the catering credit. A volunteer marked Starlight, 25% on a calendar with a pen that had seen plenty of hope. Uma feeding 50 or 500? She asked. Depends how loud my neighbors get, I said. She laughed, the kind only those who count meals and names can. Bring the list. We'll bring the noodle bowls. Driving home, I passed Maple Grove. A man in a city vest stood in the lot, clipboard in hand, staring at the building like he could see its bones. I drove on without a wave. Some moments belong to themselves. Kai texted at 4. Heard about the community kitchen. Playing the saint now? I replied, making the money hurt less. He didn't respond. Thursday unfolded like a play I hadn't written but knew by heart. At 1:58 p.m., 2 city vehicles pulled into Maple Grove. At 2:41, a third, a gray SUV with the city seal. At 3:15, an email from Greg. Mr. Chen, out of caution, we're moving all events in the next 10 days to our outdoor garden. Your son has been notified. Thank you for your engagement with our process. Greg. I read caution as we nearly got caught. In my notebook I wrote, Thursday 3:17 p.m., Maple Grove. Indoor canceled. Outdoor only, Kai notified. Below, because some days demand a taste. Control what you can, refuse what you must. Let gravity do the rest. Rain fell that evening. Steady, clouds, finally honest. I made broth the way May taught me when cash was short, but flavor wasn't. Eating it with bread Mira sent with a note. For grit. I slept like the roof had my back. Friday morning, the florist's half refund posted. The bank's fraud investigation updated. Cardholder asserts no verbal authorization. Secondary user removed. My phone's alerts stayed silent, a nod from a world that loves bad news. Kai called at noon, not caring if I was ready. You got your way, he said, voice tight enough to snap. Outdoor ceremony, plain tables, people talking. I wanted the truth to show, I said. It's showing. He tried to laugh, but it broke. You'll regret this. I regret what I taught you before, I said. Not this. He exhaled hard, like he wanted the phone to breathe for him. You're not coming, he said. Even if I begged, you're not invited. I know, I said. The line went quiet, then died like a hand pulling back from a grip it never meant. I spent the day on tasks that seem like dodging chaos but are really setting a stage for it to settle. At the post office, Hannah stamped the courier envelope with the weight of someone who trusts mail like others trust fate. Saturday, she said, pressing the label. 9:25? He'll sign. She'll sign. The world will note it. Thank you, I said. I stopped at the hardware store for new house numbers, the old ones leaning like a smirk I didn't want on my door. Wren behind the counter asked, polished brass or matte black? I chose the brass May loved. You're claiming your place again, he said, unaware how true it was. Feels like it, I said. At home, the light under the oak softened to a late afternoon glow that pardons more than it should. I sat on the porch, my notebook open, May's pocket watch, gifted on our 12th anniversary, ticking steadily on the rail. The second hand moved like it believed in the next moment. I wrote, Friday, 10:02 a.m. Courier scheduled, letter sealed. Friday, 4:48 p.m. House numbers replaced. Principle: put your name where it belongs. I closed the notebook, letting the house breathe with me. The chrysanthemums along the path glowed fierce in the fading light, bold and unyielding, like small suns gearing up for Saturday. Tomorrow, a courier will walk a hallway and hand my son an envelope. He'll open it, finding my words. Not knives, but fences, clauses, amounts, lines. And the sentence I wrote when I remembered I'm a father with a backbone. You showed me erasure. I'm showing you boundaries. The wedding will happen, or it won't. The sky will play along, or it won't. People will whisper, call me cruel, call me just, or both. But they won't say I was absent. That chapter's closed. Saturday morning came without checking if I was ready. The air held that rare calm before something breaks. A wedding, a storm, a reckoning you'll face whether you're braced or not. The world outside my window looked scrubbed clean by last night's rain. But I knew better. Streets may shine, but people carry their yesterdays. I sat at the kitchen table, tea lukewarm in my hands. The courier was set for 9:25 a.m., timed so my letter wouldn't spark a scene before the vows, but would arrive too late to dodge before the aisle. This wasn't about wrecking Kai's day. It was about ensuring truth walked with him, even if I couldn't. At 9:12, Gian texted, courier on site, confirmed. 9 minutes later. Envelope handed to best man, direct to dressing room, no issues. I pictured it. Kai in the dressing room, suit crisp, friends joking over whiskey and cufflinks. Then the knock. A courier with a slim envelope, my name in the corner. Kai's fingers might pause, might not. He'd open it. My words in black on ivory paper. Not a tirade, not a beg, just the facts he'd tried to bury. I didn't need to be there to feel the silence that would follow. By 10, I was in the yard, pruning the chrysanthemums. No suit, no polished shoes, just work pants and the shirt May said made me look like a village elder with a grudge. The morning sun caught the flowers amber, and for a moment, I saw May's eyes in that light. She'd have known what to say today. something to steady my breath without stopping my hand. At noon, the first call came. Not Kai, but Lila. "You sent it," she said, voice taut. "I sent it," I said. "You had to do it today." "Today's the day he erased me," I said. "Today's the day I show he didn't." A pause. He's shaken." "I'm sure," I said, and went back to trimming the wilted blooms. By 1 o'clock, the ceremony had begun. Min texted, "Outdoor setup, rented chairs, overcast, half the flowers gone. Looks sparse." I smiled, not from triumph, but from knowing I'd done what was needed. I didn't wait for more updates. Not my way. I drove to the reservoir, parked where the water spreads like a quiet promise, and sat on the bench May and I claimed every Sunday dusk. The breeze off the surface was cool, constant. A crane stood in the shallows, patient for a fish that might never come. I've always respected that kind of waiting. At 3 o'clock, Mira called. "You'll hear the full story, like it or not," she said, no preamble. "I want it," I said. "He read it," she said, in front of the mirror, hands trembling. The best man tried to take it. He wouldn't let go. Read every line. Then he cleared the room for 5 minutes. "And?" I asked. "He cried," Mira said. "The raw kind. The kind that wrecks your face." Then he told his barber to fix it and said, "He's gone to me." "His call," I said. Mira's voice softened. "Way, I don't think he gets what he's lost." "He will," I said. "Not today." A long pause. "And want to know if he went through with it?" I considered it. "No," I said. "Not yet." I didn't need the image of Kai at the altar today. That was his moment, for better or worse. Mine had already happened, quiet in ink, delivered by a stranger in a uniform. At 5 p.m., I was back home, notebook open, pen steady. I wrote, "Saturday, 9:25 a.m., letter delivered to Kai's dressing room. Saturday, 1 p.m., ceremony observed remotely. Outdoor, sparse decor. Sat 3 p.m., confirmation from Mira, letter read, private reaction." No commentary needed. The facts stood alone. Evening crept in slowly, the kind that lingers when you're not chasing anything. I made a quick dinner, egg on toast, miso soup, the kind May used to ask for when she wanted ease without naming it. As I ate, the phone buzzed. Jin, voice small, hesitant. "Grandpa?" "Here, Jin." "Mom's mad," he said. "I know. She says you're breaking everything." "Are you?" I took a breath. "No, Jin. I'm fixing something. Sometimes fixing changes things people don't like." "Oh," he said, testing the thought. "You'll come to my game next week?" "Wouldn't miss it," I said. After we hung up, I stared at the wall, the hollow of the win echoing in my chest. You can claim the moral ground and still feel the loss. That night, I walked the house, shutting off lights. The fridge hummed softly. The old clock ticked. The wind pressed the eaves. Everything in place. Everything mine again. Tomorrow, the aftermath would begin. Sides taken, stories spun. But tonight, I slept, knowing I'd done what I set out to do. My absence was felt, not assumed. If Kai wanted to tell the world I was dead to him, fine. Sometimes you let them write the opening line. You just ensure you pen the last. Sunday morning felt like Pinewood had stayed up too late whispering about someone else's life. Gossip here wears a polite mask. Porch chats, careful tones, bless their hearts, carrying more weight than it should. I made tea, standing at the sink as the kettle hissed. The house held a post-storm hush, not quite peace, but the pause before the next act. At 7:13, Gian texted, "You'll see noise, stick to facts, no commentary." Then a link to the local forum. The headline played neutral. Questions about last night's Maple Grove ceremony. The thread was a tangle. Nameless relatives, a groomsman's cousin, a woman claiming decades in event planning. Phrases like regulatory issues and vendor disruptions. Looped like a bad refrain. I closed it. There's a gap between hearing chatter and letting it move in. By 9 a.m., Min texted, "He's spinning it. Prep." A moment later, a screenshot of Kai's public post. We made it shine despite sabotage. 3 photos, aisle chairs on wet grass, a strained smile, a cake 1 tear shy of dreams. Caption: Some choose control over love. We chose love. I set the phone face down, watching steam curl from my mug like a thought unsure of staying. Control over love. A line written when you don't want to ask where love stops and theft starts. At 10:04, a knock, not Kai's. He'd hit the bell like it owed him. This was 3 sharp raps, deliberate. Mira. She stepped in with a bakery tin, exhaustion honest in her eyes. "Brought scones," she said. "Victory or sympathy, your pick." "Both," I said. "Sit." She opened the tin like a truce. We ate in silence for a moment, the kind that promises no harm. "He posted," she said finally. "Saw it," I said. "Skipped the nouns," Mira sighed. "That boy thinks metaphors can build a life. They can't stop the damage." "They can dress it," I said. She gave me a look only another parent knows, when you both see lessons taught too late. "Want the part not online?" she asked. "Tell me." "He read your letter," she said. Folded it, tucked it in his pocket. After the vows, before the photos, he walked to the garden edge alone. Cried, not angry, grieving. Then told the photographer he wanted 1 shot without his boutonniere. Said, "I don't want to wear what I didn't pay for." The words settled in my chest. Heavy, but not welcome. I didn't trust them enough to feel relief. "And Lila?" I asked. "She stood by him," Mira said. "Didn't fix it, just stayed." We finished our scones and tea. When she left, her hand rested on my shoulder, like a temple elder passing a quiet blessing. At noon, another call. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A habit from years of knowing words are bolder when they think you're not listening. "Mr. Chen, Greg from Maple Grove," the voice said. "Apologies for last night's confusion. We followed inspection protocols as required. We're issuing a 20% refund to your son for the venue change. We'll note compliance timing caused the shift. Thank you for your engagement." Translation. We moved to the garden because rules bite. Here's money to prove it. I forwarded it to Gian, subject, Maple Grove partial refund, and wrote in my notebook, Sunday 12:07 p.m., Maple Grove 20%. Refund to Kai, cause, compliance. Then I closed it. Some days, records can wait. At 2 o'clock, Lila called. No greeting. You happy now? She asked, voice hoarse from the night or from years of defending what wasn't hers to hold. I'm steady, I said. That's different. You shamed him. He shamed the truth, I said. The truth shamed him back. She huffed, a sound young but worn. The food was late. The flowers. It wasn't what he planned. It was what he bought, I said, with my money. She says she'll pay you back. Then she'll write it, I said. And prove it. What if she can't? Lila asked. There it was. The question of a woman who'd spent years thinking can't was a game she could outrun. Then she'll learn what can't means when it's not a strategy, I said. Lila, this isn't a stage. It's math. I hate you like this, she said. You hated me when I said yes, thinking I'd always say yes, I replied. Choose your hate. She hung up. I stood in the kitchen, watching light slide across the counter like a quiet tide. You can wait a lifetime for remorse and miss the moment when it stops mattering. At 4 o'clock, Gian called. 2 things. Maple Grove's refund is processed. Starlight sent a letter confirming the community kitchen credit. Noted, I said. What's my note? Generosity without enabling, he said. Way, I get 1 maxim a month. That's it. He paused, softer. You okay? Less smug than they'll claim, I said. Less vicious than Kai needs to paint me. Sounds like a man neither crowing nor groveling, Gian said. Good. We hung up. I stepped onto the porch. Pinewood's late afternoon hummed. Kids dribbling a basketball 2 houses down. A lawnmower grinding on. Mrs. Lynn's radio playing a tune too classic to blush over. The oak cast shade in neat squares. The chrysanthemums flared in the softening light. A car pulled up, its engine a familiar signature. Sunday. He climbed the steps, a paper bag in hand, jaw set like a man who'd chosen to grow up without a ceremony. Way, he said. Brought leftover cake. Not a truce, just food. Food outlasts truces, I said. Sit. He set the bag down, untouched. He read your letter. So I heard. He called it harsh, Son said. And I told him harsh would have been silence. We sat, the porch board steady under us. He's going through with it, he said after a pause. The plan, vendors, repayments, all of it. He said the line that hit was, stop using family as a discount code. He hated it because he saw himself. Seeing step 1, I said. Step 2's on him. Son nodded. I want to marry him, Way, but not the version that thinks love's a free pass. If we wait, we wait. You'll have my blessing when your plans don't lean on my wallet, I said, kinder than it sounds. He took it that way. He pulled a small cake tier from the bag, wrapped in parchment like a guarded truth. Eat, he said. You paid for the sugar, at least. We ate with our hands, skipping the ritual of plates. It tasted like every wedding cake. Sweet, heavy, frosted with good intentions. We drank water from mismatched mugs, the kind you save for guests who don't expect a show. Thanks for not showing up, Son said as he left. And for showing up. It's clearer when you're the reason. At 6 o'clock, I walked. Sidewalks held memories of Kai's bike crashes and Lila's chalk drawings. Near the rental house, I paused. Dark, silent. A home wants people who know shelter from a warehouse. On my way back, I saw Mira crossing the street, a grocery bag slung over her arm. She slowed. "Way," she said. "Congratulations feel off today. So, solidarity." "Solidarity," I echoed. "Jin said the ceremony was outside," she added. "Pretty, but chilly. He's 9. That's high critique." "Tell him I agree," I said. She shifted her bag. "Kyle go quiet for a bit. Then he'll either fight or fold. If he folds, he's fine." "I'm done handing out shovels," I said gently. "Good," she said, walking on with the gait of someone who knows where she's headed because she's left worse behind. Night fell with a boldness that made you forgive it for eating the day. I flicked on the porch light. The new timer didn't argue with dusk. I opened the notebook, more habit than need, and backfilled. "Saturday, 5:40 p.m., Jin called. Asked if I'm breaking everything. Explained fix versus ruin. Game next week, confirmed. Sun 12:07 p.m., Maple Grove. 20% refund to Kai, compliance. Sun 4:03 p.m., Sun, cake and talk, boundary set, blessing held. I closed it, letting paper be paper again. The phone buzzed before bed. A text from Kai, no flourish, just 3 lines, stark and direct. Like he'd read my letter more than once. I read it again. "I'll send a plan Tuesday. I won't call Desire an emergency." I didn't reply, not to withhold, but because new starts are delicate, and my job wasn't to press before they set. I slept like a man who'd swapped clamor for clarity. The house breathed with me. The chrysanthemums outside smoldered like embers, keeping watch. Monday morning came, heedless of forums or grudges. The sun rose without checking Pinewood's gossip, and the kettle asked if I was ready for a day I didn't owe an apology to. If you asked me then if revenge felt like victory, I'd say no. It felt like reclaiming my name where it was erased, without writing anyone else's. It felt like boundaries that didn't yell because they didn't have to. It felt like cake on a porch, a letter read in a mirror, a boy wanting me at his game next week. Scores that matter. It felt like this. May's pocket watch, wound and ticking toward a Tuesday when an envelope would arrive. Not by courier or in haste, but by choice, in Kai's handwriting, on paper he finally understood. The envelope arrived Tuesday, as promised. No certified mail, no late-night drop, just an envelope in the mailbox, nestled between a utility bill and a discount gardening flyer. Ordinary paper, but Kai's handwriting on my name carried a weight absent for years. I didn't open it right away, not out of fear, but because truth in ink demands you choose your moment. In the kitchen, I set it on the table and brewed tea, measuring leaves, pouring water, eyes avoiding the envelope. The kettle's rising hum steadied me more than my pulse. When I tore the flap, a single page unfolded, folded sharp and precise. No flair, no scent, just Kai's script, tighter than usual, as if the words wanted to shrink from the world. "Dad, here's the plan. First, repayment, $800 monthly starting next month until the card and wedding costs are cleared. Second, vendor accounts out of your name by Thursday. Third, Sun will cover half the remaining catering balance. 4. Emergency card cut up, pieces returned to you. Eindavde, monthly payment updates until the debt's gone. This isn't an apology. That's for when I've earned it. I'm not asking forgiveness yet. I'm asking for a chance to follow through. Kai. I held the page a long time, not a love letter, but something rarer. Words that didn't hide behind excuses. I called Gian. He sent the plan. Better than I figured, Gian said. Better than you figured isn't good. Does it work? Yes, I said. Then, after a beat, no. It works for the money, not for the part where a son becomes a stranger. That's not in the plan, Gian said. That's in the doing. I hung up, slipped the letter into the notebook's front flap, not with transactions, but where things heavier than numbers live. By Thursday, the first curve came. Not from Kai, but Lila. She showed up unannounced, wearing the same coat from the wedding, a faint crease where her corsage had been. She didn't look ready for a fight, just burdened by something heavier than the folder in her hand. Not here for him, she said as I opened the door. For me. That's a distinction, I said, letting her in. She sat at the table, setting down a folder, bank statements, screenshots, a signed letter from her boss. I'm paying half his debt, she said. Not because he asked, because I didn't stop him. I let her words sit. I thought peace was love, she said. It's not. It's fear in a better jacket. Half? I asked. Every month, same as him. If he slips, I'll cover. I closed the folder, slid it back. You don't need my okay, Lila. No, she said, but I need you to know I'm not a ghost in this. That night, on the porch, I thought about her words. Being invisible isn't just about not being seen. It's standing where no one looks. Maybe Lila was stepping into view, even if it stung. The next week, Kai called. No text, no voicemail, just his voice. Accounts are transferred, he said. Vendors are in my name. Cards cut up. Want the pieces? No, I said. I don't collect relics. A pause. You're not making this easy. Easy doesn't teach, I said. He exhaled, holding back something. First payment's Friday. Kai, I said before he could hang up, this isn't about you becoming who I want. It's about you becoming someone you can stand. I know, he said, soft. The line went quiet. Days passed. Payments came, small but punctual. Each a stone in something I couldn't yet name. Then the second curve. A letter from Maple Grove Pavilion. Not a refund notice, but a complaint from Kai. He claimed the last-minute venue switch stemmed from third-party interference, seeking extra compensation. They wanted my response. I called him instantly. Why? I thought, he started. Thought what? My voice was calmer than I felt. They might owe me more. Kai, I said, you can't preach accountability and then chase a payout because it might work. It's not about, he stopped. I'll withdraw it. No, I said. See it through. Let them reject it. Let yourself face what happens when you try to rewrite a truth everyone knows. 2 days later, he called. They denied it, he said. I'm not appealing. A pause. I get it now. Truth bites back. Not an apology, but a reflection. By month's end, the balance dropped by $1,600, more than I'd expected so soon. Son stopped by one evening with a box of leftover catering napkins. Thought you might use these, he said. They're paid for now. We stood in the kitchen, folding them. Two men who'd learned the hard way that love without respect is just a poorly lit play. Will he forgive me? Son asked abruptly. Don't ask that, I said. Ask if he'll forgive himself. That's the tougher one. The next weekend, Jin's baseball game was a demilitarized zone. Kai was there, 2 rows down with Son. Lila sat beside them, the trio like a family portrait in a frame needing a polish. Between innings, Jin jogged over. Mom says you're coming to dinner next month, he said, eyes bright. Is that so? I asked. Yeah, he said. She said it's not a truce, it's… I forgot the word. An agreement? I offered. Yeah, that, like a truce. Sometimes, I said. Sometimes it's just a place to begin. Game over, Kai approached. No audience, just him in the fading light. I want you to come, he said. To what? Dinner with us. No speeches, no notebooks, just dinner. I scanned his face for a catch, found none. I'll consider it. He nodded. That's enough. Walking to my car, I realized revenge had faded as the goal weeks ago. What I wanted now was trickier. Something between justice and mending, like a bone knitting itself, waiting for you to test its strength. That night, I opened the notebook. Friday, Kai dinner invite, terms unclear, trust tentative. No dollar amount for once. Some debts aren't counted in cash. Kai's text came at 4:17 p.m. when sunlight slants through my kitchen window, turning dust to stars. Before dinner, read this. A link, no emojis, no traps. I finished scrubbing the sink, folded the cloth into a square, then clicked. It was public, not private. A photo of the outdoor aisle, grass damp, sky unsure, chairs in careful rows. Kai's words below, not a caption, but a confession. Last week, I called my wedding's chaos sabotage. It wasn't. It was consequence. I used my father's emergency card for wants, not needs, and spun a story where I was the victim. That was a lie, to myself most of all. I'm repaying what I took, money and trust. I'm posting this because I was loud with my complaint. I'll be louder with the truth. Comments off. I'll answer with actions, not words. I stood, phone in hand, feeling something shift behind my ribs. Not a wall falling, but a hinge creaking open, unoiled. I set the phone down, letting the kitchen be just a kitchen. At 5:03, I dressed for dinner, not a trial. Shirt that fits, jacket May liked, pocket watch ticking true. I paused at the notebook, considered bringing it, didn't. If this was to work, I couldn't arrive with a ledger like a monk clutching dogma in a house that didn't ask for sermons. The drive to Kai's took 12 minutes and 30 years. The streets knew my tires like I know the fridge's hum. His house glowed tidy, porch light on before dusk gave up. I parked at the curb, sat with hands on the wheel, engine clicking as it cooled, saying nothing to myself because sometimes silence hears better than words. Son opened the door before I knocked. No handshake, just a quick, clumsy half hug that worked better than it looked. Thanks for coming, he said. Thanks for asking, I said. The house smelled of soy sauce and something sweet, maybe plum. The table was set for 4. A 5th napkin folded on the counter like a thought on hold. Jin barreled in, socks skidding, grin wild. Grandpa, he said, crashing into my knee, then pulling back like he'd planned it. I made the salad. Mom says I tossed it like a storm. Storms get the job done, I said. He laughed, darting off to chase whatever 9-year-olds swear is better than the room they're in. Son nodded toward the sink. Tea? Water? Water, I said. I don't need help saying something rash. He poured, handing me a glass that didn't match the rest. I liked it for that. Kai emerged from the hall, wiping his hands on a towel, closing the distance without making me bridge it. "Hi, Dad," he said. "Hi, kid," I said, the words slipping from an older me, unembarrassed. We stood in that fragile space between regret and hunger. "Can we start at the table?" he said. "If we do this standing, I'll mess up the order." We sat. Dishes came. Bread, soy-glazed chicken, Jin's storm-tossed salad. No speeches, no chairs scraped for show. Jin spun a tale about a science quiz like it was a championship. Son asked about my old car like he cared. Their fridge hummed sharper than mine, a kind of domestic rhythm. Halfway through the chicken, Kai set his chopsticks down, reached under his chair, and placed a small glass jar on the table. Clear metal lid, gray plastic shards inside, sharp and jumbled. "Cut the card last week," he said. "I kept the pieces because it felt right." "It is," I said, leaving the jar untouched. "One more thing," he said, sliding an envelope from under the jar. "Before you say anything I might forget." He pushed it toward me. I glanced at Sunday. He nodded, silent at the right moment. "Open it," Kai said. I did. A cashier's check, $1,600. "I sold my suit," he said, before I could ask what I didn't want to. "Not because you told me to, because I couldn't wear it again without hearing the wrong story in the threads." "It was your suit," I said softly. "It was your money," he said softer. "And it was me then. I'm trying to be me now." Son exhaled, a breath he'd held since yesterday. He pulled a second check from his pocket, set it beside Kai's. "Half," he said. "Like we said." "Careful," I said, a faint smile escaping. "Keep this up. I'll have to admit I raised someone who gets math." Kai laughed, startled by it, almost covering his mouth, then didn't. "I didn't ask you here to pay you," he said. "I asked you here because I don't want to be the guy whose story needs you gone to hold together." Some moments need a gavel to seal them. I had none. Just my water glass, the jar of card fragments, and the watch heavy against my chest. Enough. "Okay," I said. "Ground rules." He nodded. "No loans," I said. "No sugarcoating. No just this once. No calling once emergencies. If you need, say need. If you want, say want. Both are fine. Mixing them in front of me isn't." "I won't," he said. "If you make a plan, stick to it. If you falter, tell me before the numbers do." "I will," he said. "And when you post about me," I said, feeling the century's absurdity but standing tall in it, "treat me like a person, not a plot device." His eyes glistened but held. "Yes," he said. "I started already." "I saw," I said. "We ate the rest of the meal like people choosing to share a space, not a stage. No explosions, no scripted showdowns, no doors slammed." The chicken cooled. The talk warmed. Jin wove a tale of gym class tangled with superhero comics, and no one corrected him. The house did its work, holding us. After dishes, split, not delegated, Son took Jin outside to practice knots for no reason but to teach. Kai and I stayed at the table. He fidgeted with a stray grain of rice, then stopped, hands flat, eyes meeting mine. "I'm sorry," he said. No preamble, no polish. "I was wrong. I made you the villain to star in my story. I stole. I lied to justify it. When you held up a mirror, I tried to break it instead of fixing myself. It was the best apology I'd ever heard, not because it flattered me, but because it stood bare, asking nothing. "Thank you," I said. "I accept." He nodded, like a racer hearing the starting gun in his mind. "I'm not asking to be back in your will," he said, a half smile cutting the weight, his way of sidestepping the deep end. "I'm asking you to keep opening the door." "I can do that," I said. We talked lighter things, school schedules, whether their cedar needed pruning, how sun burned rice despite trying. I told him about the community kitchen, how the volunteer marked Starlight, 25% like it was a festival day. He said he liked that Pinewood still wrote things where others could see. When I stood to leave, he handed me the jar of card shards. "For your records," he said, testing the word like a tailored coat. "For my shelves," I corrected. "Not everything's a scar. Some things are stitches." On the porch, Sun shook my hand. Unnecessary. Perfect. Jin charged at me, half running, limbs and joy in a tangle, and I caught him. Hands that don't reach for what they love forget how. "Game Thursday," he said into my coat. "Green team, they don't wash their jerseys." "I'll bring clips," I said. He laughed like I'd given him permission to think I'm funny. A legacy of its own. Driving home, I skipped the radio. The quiet was hard-earned. The house welcomed me with its air, its honest boards, the clock's steady case for time. I set the jar on the mantel, not in the file box. It felt less like proof, more like art, crafted from old errors. Before bed, I opened the notebook, wrote less than I expected. Saturday, 4:17 p.m. Kai Public Post, admission, comments off. Sat 6:12 p.m. Dinner at Kai and Sons. Card pieces returned. Jar. Cashier's checks. $1,600 Kai. $1,600 some person. Apology given, accepted. Then, unplanned. Principle. Repair is slower than revenge, lasts longer. I closed the book, dimmed the lamp, let the house shift to its night voice. Sleep came like a quilt, practical and chosen. Days passed, reliable. The first of the month brought deposits, small, punctual. Maple Grove sent a letter closing the file. Starlight emailed a photo of the community kitchen line. Trays steaming, garlic and kept promises in the air. Lee at the bank called. Fraud case resolved, my favor. The real win was the silence. No new alerts. Nothing feels better than nothing when something's been knocking you flat. A week later, Lila arrived with gin and a baseball glove worn thin. No envelope, just a question. "Come to practice and embarrass me?" she asked, her grin shedding its guard for something truer. "I'll lean on the fence, keep my thoughts quiet," I said. "You can yell one thing," Jin bargained. "Just one. Not about my stance." "Fine," I said. "I'll yell about physics." At the field, the chain link pressed diamonds into my palms. I watched a boy learn angles, a mother stand by her son in a silence that didn't need mending. Lila glanced over, eyebrows asking. I nodded. She nodded back. The scoreboard told the truth, unmoved by sentiment. I trust those machines. Driving home, we passed Maple Grove. The cedar threw shade like a curtain drawn gently. I didn't slow. Some places teach once and let you be. I took the lesson, minded my business. That night, a small package sat on my porch, stamped, no return address. Inside, wrapped in brown paper, a photo. Kai and son on the garden path. No boutonniere, just hands and faces. Human, not props. On the back, Kai's script. We earned this one. I set it by the jar on the mantel. They fit. Confession and rebuilding, at peace with their part of the story. I brewed tea, the night calling for something softer than coffee, and took my cup to the porch. The chrysanthemums glowed low, patient. The oak held up the sky, a job too big for one tree, yet trees manage. Across the street, Mrs. Lynn's radio played a song May loved, and I let it drift through the window without shushing the air. The pocket watch ticked in my hand, its second hand tracing a humble loop. A man could anchor a life to that rhythm and never spook the neighbors. My phone buzzed. Kai. Next payment tomorrow. Dad, thanks for answering the door. I typed back, keep knocking. I'll keep opening. Then I pocketed the phone, let the night be. No more words. The porch light snapped on, right on cue, as if it had been waiting for me to catch up to its lesson on timing and clarity. A car rolled by, tires whispering to the asphalt. Down the block, a screen door clicked shut, another house calling it a night. I finished my tea and went inside. On the mantel, the jar of card shards caught a glint of lamplight, turning it into sharp angles. Beside it, the photo of Kai and son held steady, no pretense. Below them, the notebook stayed closed, fitting. Some days don't need ink. They let the scene write itself. In bed, the sheets were cool, ordinary, perfect. I thought about erased, the word that started this storm, wielded like a gavel. Maybe it was less a verdict, more a pencil's eraser, used deliberately so the next lines come out cleaner. I'm no poet. I'm a man who tallied parts in a factory, learned numbers don't lie, but they'll haunt you if you skip the math. We balanced some numbers. We started balancing something tougher. The house breathed. The clock kept its promise to the moment. The watch in my hand, warm from my grip. A man who once forgot he had a pulse apart from his family's nod. Ticked twice, then again, into a quiet that didn't need revenge to settle it. It had something stronger, respect, etched in places no card could touch. If there's a lesson here, it's not that paper triumphs or noise fails. It's that you can't be cut from a story you keep writing. I didn't get my son back as he was. I don't want him that way. I got the one who knocked, waited, didn't demand I fling the door wide without the hinges I'd set. That's enough. I switched off the lamp. In the dark, the porch light cast a steady square on the floor, constant as a pulse under cloth. Outside, the chrysanthemums held their embers for no one in particular. That's what light does when you let it. It stays.